Live. It's not showing me any.
Nope, that's fine. It's got a
Uploads
delay.
live streams. Here we go.
Here we go.
Casual Antiford live stream 44. Oh, it muted us.
Yes, it did. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, hello everyone. Hello streamies.
Oh. And now Facebook is going live.
Man, everything needed extra things.
Yeah, that's fine. I didn't realize I had to push that button. Well, let's do it again.
Hello.
Okay, now we're live everywhere. Oh,
now we're live
gracious.
everywhere. I'm going to share the link around, so if you hear clackety clacks, that's me. But hi, Sam.
Hi. How's it going, Nate?
I'm alive.
Yeah.
How are you holding it?
On a hot day like today? No, actually, I'm doing pretty good. I finally got myself a haircut, which has been so good after all this quarantine hair floppiness.
It was like you're farther ahead than I am. At least right now.
Yeah, the restrictions have been interesting. Like, it makes sense. Like, they can't use blow dryers because one of the big things about, the business is all the air circulation helps circulate the problem. But, yeah, so. I don't know. I've been doing well. Been binging a lot of media. Been trying to work on some stuff. Honestly, if you haven't heard what I've been up to during most of this year, I have been doing a lot of manufacturing of the 3D printed pieces for the board game, The Rogues of Antiford. I got the dice roller.
Yeah.
Are there any dice in any of these? No, there's not. Okay.
You remove them.
Well, Rogues of Antiford dice cups. I'll put a wooden block in there. Yeah. Ta-da. I think that's the last piece. Although my printer's been all a bit wonk the past week and a half, so I ordered some new nozzles. Of course, international shipping time. We'll see what happens with that. But no, most of the pieces are done, and I got to work on the card design. So I've got to load up. I've got to load up, the card designs and start drawing some new art, some new side art for the cards, which is great. I'm very happy with how that's all turned out. So I really should not let that stop me and get to some of the rule book and card work. But the work's all cut out for me. It's all done. So, and then I've seen you've been very busy with your YouTube channel. Yes,
I've been doing some things during this time away, the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. I did end up getting some stuff out. The Iron Harvest beta went live, so I've been doing beta things with that.
Let's Plays.
Yeah, got to play through that campaign, which I'm excited about.
Cool.
Also got to just take a moment and breathe. I got to play some games that I just haven't had time to get to, or I was like, I need to play a game, so we have to do this. So I ended up beating Subnautica and then playing a lot of the Subnautica Below Zero beta alpha thing that they're doing.
Early access.
Yeah, that's been fun, especially since word on the street is that stuff will be ending soon. I'm being recommended a ton of games that seem very steampunk oriented, so I almost bought Deep Rock Galactic and tried that out. Justin also sounded interested in that. But
Yeah.
it's one
I
of those
picked
things
up.
where I can't.
I picked up Strange Brigade, but I haven't got a chance to really dig into it yet. You and we got to play some foul play online,
Which
which I
I'm
hadn't.
so mad. I went on the other day when I was giving Jasmine some time with the cat. I went in at the living room to play some more, so that next time we played, we'd be farther along.
Sure.
And it didn't save any of the stuff. I had to restart.
Oh, the multiplayer progress didn't count?
No, it was like do you want to bring in your save from the cloud? And I went no, and it was like okay, and then it started me fresh, and I went oh that was the wrong choice. So when I restarted, it was like do you want your save from the cloud? I went yes. So when it brought me in, it was a fresh page as well, and I was like what the heck's the point in asking me?
Oh goodness gracious.
Direction.
That's all right. We didn't get too far. It didn't take us too long to get to where we were.
Yeah. Well, I just have to replay through it myself, but I was so angry it didn't save. I was like, ah.
Crazy. Yeah, I've been playing different games here and there. One really cool steampunk game I got to play was called Speed Brawl. I actually want to double check that that's the right. Yeah, it's probably right. Speed Brawl. It was in the humble bundle that they did for the, these times. It was really cool. It was a great game. It's like a beat 'em up racer. So like you start on one end, and you side scrolling. You run to the finish line, but at points along the way towards the finish line, there are little fighting arenas, and you have to beat up the enemies and go as fast as possible. So like you're less worried about your health and more worried about how can I get these. Most of them are like moon bugs, selenites or whatever. Like you're fighting moon bugs, mostly, and you're like, how can I beat up these moon bugs better to get to the finish line quicker, which has been awesome. And it's got like. H.G. Wells is this crazy guy who conquered the moon or something. It's a really, really cool storyline, and the presentation's great. The art's really pretty. I dig all the backgrounds at the start line, especially. There's a whole bunch of like advertising billboards, and they got beautiful, Victorian fontage. It's really cool. It's really, really cool.
Cool.
So I enjoyed the heck out of that. That was fun. Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, not too much in the steampunk games front. Plenty of other little games, Assassin's Creed, this and that, and some Tomb Raider. Been digging the kind of ancient artifact puzzle thing.
Yeah. I was like, that's where I've kind of been stuck. Oh, yeah, at the beginning of all this, I finished up Uncharted 3, and I was like, I'm going to play Uncharted 4. And then it turned into if I'm going to do something, I kind of want to do it for the channel because I have this time to be home. That's another thing is we can talk about what we've been up to. We can also talk about what I failed to be up to because I've been talking a lot about learning to sew and sewing up a bunch of my costume pieces that have broken or pants that are split. And I just never really ended up getting to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This time has been spent a lot of it with the 3D printer myself. Although I did get. So you remember the photo booth that I've been dragging around to different events, which is great. And that has the standard old school Raspberry Pi camera, pretty low quality. Maybe 5-7 years ago level of camera from a phone type thing, but they did come out with a high quality camera. See if I can find it actually. They came out with a high quality camera, and I just I didn't get it to work, unfortunately, and I might just have to upgrade the box from a Raspberry Pi 3 to a Pi 4, because it might just be too much data for it to process fast enough. But the high quality camera, and I printed a little case to go around it, but the high quality camera. So that should be better if I can get that up and running for the Steampunk photo booth. I was very excited when the Raspberry Pi Foundation announced, this nice high quality, like actual photography level camera module. So supposed to be plug and play, drop it in replacement. Didn't quite work out that way. Hardware wise, yes. Software wise, the photo booth software kind of chokes on it. It gets one photo off and then it just dies. So we'll see. We'll see. I think my Raspberry Pi 4 is lent out to my dad right now. I might just let him keep it and order another one. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, we do have some people watching and some people in the chat. Do feel free to talk with us in the chats. Facebook has one. If you click on the live stream, you can get into the chat and everything. There's a place on the side for you to talk. Also,
and there's a YouTube chat.
Yeah. For those of you who have recently joined us, since this has started being shared around, do feel free to engage with us in the chat on YouTube or Facebook. We're talking about Steampunk this year, what we've been doing, what we've been not doing, what we've been watching.
So, yeah, watching is interesting. So I can say there's a couple steampunk films that I watched that I hadn't been previously, which my wife, she finished reading the His Dark Materials books. Mm-hmm. And so we went back, and we don't have the HBO streaming service quite yet, because I know that there's a new, more long-form version of the series. But we went and we watched the movie they had made. And I'm going to be honest, I'm really surprised that it was much better than I remembered being. I had no issue with it. It was a fun movie. I haven't
seen that movie at all.
Yeah, I just don't think people were ready for it at the time. I don't know, but it was good. It was pretty good. I liked it. It definitely felt like they set it up for a sequel that they didn't earn enough money to make.
Yeah.
Like they should have signed something with the studio to be like, no, all three or none of them. So they only got to make one, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard that there was a lot of I don't know for certain. I didn't see the movie. I'll preface this with I didn't see the movie. But what I've heard was that they pushed off certain reveals to be revealed in a sequel, and then they introduced concepts that weren't introduced in the first book. And what ended up happening was a movie that really felt like it was the beginning of a story. And since obviously it flopped heavily and wasn't good enough to keep it going, you don't get any payoff for that.
Yeah. I honestly think that if they had waited until after Harry Potter was completely done, that it would have been something people could have jumped onto as the next yearly thing. Yeah. But then Marvel filled that space. So it needed to be the thing that we waited each Christmas for.
I will tell my story with my connection with that books. I did read the first two books, and I think the first page or chapter of the third book, whatever the situation was. So I think that when the movie came out, it came to light some reasons why a younger, let's say, more religious Nate stopped reading.
Okay.
Which is they kind of build it up. They kind of talk about some things. It's never a specific thing. But I do remember that in the third book, the big spoiler alert if you haven't read His Dark Materials or whatever.
Let's not. But it's definitely
in the beginning of the third book, let's just say that things have come to light, and it's like, hey, this is the purpose of what this character is doing, which is this kind of, it can be misconstrued as anti-religious, let's say. And let's just say that without spoiling it, religious groups, Christian groups got very mad, and a younger me went, that's what this book has been building to, is this moment. Oh, F this. And I just stopped reading.
The series definitely doesn't seem against religion and spiritualism and stuff in general. And because there's magic and this and that. There are legitimate higher powers. But it's definitely right off the bat, I could tell from watching the movie, the church is the villain. So that it can only keep going from there.
Yeah,
So
what ended up happening is I stopped. So what I believe could have also happened is the movie ignited more attention on the series, because at that point, definitely all 3 books were out. Because I know that's why a young, more religious Nate didn't watch the movie, because I was like, I have no interest in that series. And so I think that could have also, it just wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
But
I see you're in the chat there, responding to somebody noticing that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is streaming now. That's a fun movie. I love that movie.
Right. I loved that movie. I'm so mad that there was a written sequel to it, and they were like, people just aren't that interested. And even Sean Connery was like, yeah, let's do it. And then they were like, oh, people aren't that interested. And he was like, okay, well, I'm going to go retire now. But like, I love that movie. It's always brought up. So, okay, let's talk about this for a second. There is a series of movies that are always brought up when people say, what's a steampunk movie? And people will always say one of them and then get blank faces and they go, ugh. Then they'll say the second one, which is Set in Contempt. And then usually following that second one is a third one, which is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And it's also Set in Contempt. And I don't understand why. I love League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I think that I think people remember watching these fun movies as like younger teenagers, and they're having contempt for themselves. I think people haven't learned to own good cheesy movies. Like that's
maybe
like there's fun bits that are not taking themselves seriously.
Yeah, because
I remember that after all that wave of things not taking themselves seriously, there was a big wave of movies that had to be taking themselves very seriously. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Equally, but just in a different way. But I will say I've read all the comics for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like there's like 5 or 6 different ones that go many different time periods. The first 2 are the Victorian ones, and those are really fun. And the storyline in the movie has nothing to do with them. And I like that because it gives me more stories.
Yeah, well, I believe I'd never read the comics. I kind of did the whole, I really enjoyed this thing, so I'm going on Wikipedia about it.
They're definitely not kid friendly for sure.
That was the first thing they usually bring up. Is there's no R word in the movie, and I'm like, oh, that was in the comics.
Everyone's wearing clothes all the time in the movie.
Yeah. I assume that it makes more sense in context.
It was one of those books that was made in the late 80s, early 90s, where everything was a bit edgier.
Yeah.
Maybe too edgy, but it's okay. It's like it walks the line. I think that the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen comics walk the line, and they stay a little bit on the okay side most of the time. Sometimes, your mileage may vary. It's difficult going backwards to that time period in comics because it is kind of gruesome, kind of gross. Like Amazon did a series about The Boys, and that comic is disgusting. And I don't want to watch that show.
Everyone recommended The Boys to me, and I watched the trailer, and I was like, I'm into this. Then I watched I think it's the Red Band trailer is what they called it, because it's not a Red Band, it's a TV series. But the more R-rated trailer, and I was like, yeah, this seems like a movie that is doing things just to do it. And then I saw another review that was all the grossest bits they put in the trailers. Why? Because that's not what the show's about. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll give it a shot, but I haven't.
The comics that they're based on is like peak 90s edgy for edgy's sake.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Well, it's kind of like the we want to do the Watchmen, but that Watchmen movie was so terrible that no one wants to touch it again. So we're gonna do a not Watchmen
movie. I've
never seen it, but I also have no reason to see it. It is not talked about in a good light.
I heard they are doing interesting things with the new series, that it's being set in the future, like past all the storyline from the comic /movie.
Is it?
So the Watchmen, is just the background history of the new series.
I know that they said that for Watchmen to succeed, you have to take Mr. Manhattan out of it. because I watched a whole video talking about how his character works in the comics, but can never be put to film correctly.
I don't know. I didn't mind the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, you just got to experience it. It's a nice.
Okay.
I like the movie. It's a decent Zack Snyder film. There was a What's the Difference or one of those similar types of things that analyzed it recently. Yeah. I think it was actually one of the Deep or Dumb videos.
I think they did Deep or Dumb. You're right, because I think
they did a really good episode on it that explains why it's dumb in some ways, especially if you're comparing it to the comic. But it's also smart in other ways, especially if you're thinking about it in terms of how Zack Snyder does movies, because it does certain movie things right, and it does certain other things wrong. It's an adaptation. Yeah. An adaptation of a really beloved thing. It's going to be different, and it's going to be polarizing no matter what. I also really like the V movie adaptation, even though I think the book's better. But I think that the V movie has aged better than it should have. Like, I didn't care for it as much when it first... I liked it, but I thought that there were weird issues when it first came out, and with a little distance, I think it's aged better, which is weird.
Yeah, I think that's always going to end up happening.
I don't know, some things age very poorly, like most 90s comic books.
To get back on track, though, we do recommend League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, comics and movie. Like, we do recommend that.
So one thing that reminds me, so the last movie I ended up seeing over this year that is a hard to recommend movie, but I did like it, is Abigail.
Abigail. Is that the horror one with the...
No idea. The steampunk one.
Oh, is that the one with the 2 Eiffel Towers?
Nope. Saw that years ago. That one's that one you're thinking is the Extraordinary Adventures of
Extraordinarium or something. It has a special word. So I've never heard of Abigail. Why don't you...
Oh, you might have seen the trailer. It's the one where like everyone's supposed to be indoors because there's some sort of disease and there's like masked police.
Is that out? I did share that on my thing. Where's that streaming? Or
I think I might have bought it on Google Play.
Okay.
So what I'll say is odd about Abigail is I liked the movie.
Okay.
But it was stealth dubbed. It's a Russian movie. Didn't know that. Kind of cool. Okay. Russia's putting some money and some I mean, the location's great. So awesome. Wonderful. But you don't know it's dubbed because the guy who plays the father character in the beginning, I've seen him in a lot of British things. Like he speaks great British English. Yeah. So he overdubbed himself, kind of like, when Jackie Chan dubs himself, right?
Yeah.
You hardly notice that it's a movie that was, in Chinese because Jackie Chan can speak both, right? You hardly notice that this guy, his lips don't quite match because his voice matches his face because you've seen him in other things.
Yeah.
And then other people start speaking and you're like, this is kind of odd. But like they're trying to lip sync like it's an anime. They're trying to like sync the lips.
Yeah.
Like the lip flaps. And so they have to use certain wording and timings of words that's a little bit off that feels like an anime. And the main character, her voice is much younger or higher pitched than her natural speaking Russian voice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for me. I know Amber's didn't mind it.
Okay. Would you recommend?
I mean, she had plenty of issues with the dubbing.
Would you recommend the movie overall?
I think it's a really fun steampunk movie. It's gorgeous. I would definitely recommend people watch it. I wish it was on a streaming service because then it'd be easy to recommend. It's just like, yeah, whatever. Give up a couple hours of your time. But since you have to give up a couple hours of your time and, $20 or $10 or whatever it is, it's harder to recommend as a purchase. It's easier to recommend if it ends up on streaming.
Yeah. So one of the things that you just said reminded me of this other kind of steampunky movie. Have you heard of this movie called The Iron Mask? It is a Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And in it,
I've heard of it. Is it out?
It's pseudo steampunk. In it, Jackie Chan, like it's all dubbed, no matter where you see it. But there's a bunch of Chinese actors that like big name Jackie Chan. There's a bunch of others. All of them speak Chinese throughout the whole movie with their parts, but they dub over themselves in English. But all of the English speakers, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a bunch of people on his side, they speak English throughout the whole thing, not dubbed. But in the Chinese version of the film, it's flipped. So the scenes don't change at all. So the Chinese ones are hearing the Chinese for it, but Arnold Schwarzenegger dubs himself in Chinese over his English-speaking roles. So what's happening is when they film the scenes, Jackie Chan is doing his lines in Chinese, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing his back in English as if he understands. And they did this back and forth when they filmed it, so that it was one movie, but depending on what version you see, you're kind of getting different audio for it. But they filmed it all at the same time. It is interesting. It looks funny. It kind of looks like it's going to be terrible, but it looks like it's going to be an amazing terrible. When you get a chance, look up the Iron Mask trailer.
So it looks like the full title is Journey to China, the Mystery of the Iron Mask, maybe? Or just Iron...
I believe it's a sequel to another movie, but I've never heard of the other
like
movie.
VIY, V2, Journey to China, is a 2019 Russo-Chinese fantasy adventure film, the sequel to V, the 2014 cinema hit, based on the Nicola Gogol story, V.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
So
it's not out yet, though. Not to own.
It is set to be out in 2020, as much as anything's set to be out in 2020. Yeah. But I mean, just watch the trailer for that.
Because it's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in a powdered wig, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's pseudo. I want to say pseudo steampunk only because I didn't see anything in it, or I don't remember seeing anything that was blatantly steampunk. Besides, I think a fight in a clock tower. Yeah. But I mean, they have magic. It's a different. It's not a historical. It is like a different with fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantasy adventure. Yeah,
and it's so cool how they did it though. So what you said kind of set me down that path where I was like, yeah, that's cool. that is, I've seen that before.
Yeah, but yeah, Abigail was neat. I think the thing is that like they're trying to pretend that like magical ability is a disease to stomp out the magic people or something, which is funny because then we went from that and we ended up watching Carnival Row.
Yeah, I was like Carnival Row.
Better done.
If any of you are familiar with the channel Radio Retro Future, done by Bonzar, he hated. Well, not hated. All right, I'm going to write that back. It's been a while since I saw his video on it. But he definitely had some things to say about Carnival Row and how it handled steampunkiness, and he was very opinionated. I love Carnival Row. I love it. I want a season 2. It is for all the reasons why you need Amazon Prime. Like mine is canceled during all this. I don't agree with their business practices right now and how they're handling the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. So I'm not happy with that.
For anyone who's not familiar with this is his term for the happenings that we're generally not allowed to speak about on YouTube or the
YouTube, as well as a few others, have started hurting creators for using the name of what's happening right now in the March to
So he's
June.
Been saying the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't take credit for it. I believe it was Game Grumps who started using it. Okay. And I think some other people started using it because that was a big thing that was supposed to happen this year. And it's kind of stuck. So you use other names for what's happening right now. And Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
In any case.
But in any case,
Carnival Row made me cry at the end. Like, it was so heart-wrenching. It was so good. So, like, the love story and everything was so beautiful.
Yeah,
and I thought it was really great.
There's two
retelling of like turn of the century, like like Eastern United States cultural politics.
Yes.
Like New York City type turn of the century immigration and all that. Like, I mean, they definitely lean hard into like the Irish thing. Like, it worked really well for me.
I would even go an extra step of saying that like it really felt like I know everyone was like, oh, every story that was out last year was talking about immigration and had something to say about what's happening at the U.S. southern border right now. I'm like, I felt like that had a lot of really good things to say about it, and a lot of things that are like, it's just all politics. It's someone in power taking a stance for the purpose of getting what they want. And I'm
For the
like,
purpose of
I
taking a
really
stance,
like.
not because they believe in anything particular. Yeah,
No.
the thing I really liked was that it's fantastical enough that it's
Yeah.
removed enough from the real world that it's not directly saying anything about specific things.
Yeah.
It's talking generally about the topic through a fantastical world. Even their version of Christianity uses different symbolism that speaks about its place in the world, but through a surrogate fantastical version of it. It's not commenting specifically on particular things.
Yeah.
It's talking about the general ideas, and not any particular hardline one way or the other. Everything's pretty nuanced. It's very noir story for a lot of it, so there's a lot of kind of grim, dark nuance.
Jasmine said the worst thing about Carnival Row was that whoever marketed it should be shot. We saw 3 different trailers, which gave 3 different versions of what the show would be, showed vastly different things in different ways. There were things that connected them. But then we watched the show, and she went, all 3 trailers we watched were wrong. All 3 of them did not even give the tone correctly. She's like, I feel like whoever marketed this movie this TV show should be shot. It was just a very...
It's a post-war noir malaise with some cultural upheaval. Like, that's what it is.
I would even go as far as it is almost episode by episode genre shifting. Like, it is you are right, it is a noir story. It is a noir romance, is what I would say it, with literally, like, what was it, 2 or maybe 3 episodes in the middle that are all flashback episodes to the war, which are like a war romance thing.
Yeah. And I think that the reason I like that is because, like, the reason noir was because it was post-war.
Yeah.
So, like, it earns the right to feel that way. Like, it earns the right to use that as a device in its earlier historical time period, because it gives you like a World War I style war to be, malaise about.
Yeah. I'm all for it though. Like, I want a sequel. I want books written in this world. Like, I fell in love with everything. I was even fine with the genre shifts just because I was so hooked the entire time. Orlando Bloom, wow, did he come out of nowhere and just hit it out of the park?
I know, we kept thinking, like, man, this is his role. Like, this is his, like, I can finally forget about the ridiculously goofy young man who played in Pirates and Legolas, because he's just completely redefined his acting ability with this role.
It was just really good. And I saw a lot of steampunk channels or people hating on it, and I felt really bad because I understood, like, Bonzarts, he went through a whole thing, and to be honest, I kind of agreed with a lot of them. But his end result was, it should never have been made, or they did it wrong. And I was like, no, I think you missed the point. Because nothing he said that I could think of was wrong. I saw a lot of people that were like, it's trying so hard to push an agenda. And I'm like, no, it's telling a story. It's one of those stories where if you have blinders on, you can enjoy it. You don't want your political agenda pushed on you, then don't go into the comment section on YouTube. Like, you can enjoy this. It's not pushing an agenda. However, if you squint and you're looking into it and drawing parallels, there's plenty to be had. You can definitely write essays on this series. I really like it.
I feel like it's not so. I feel like if you're upset about some politics, that you're putting the politics into it, because it's removed itself with the fantasy element quite a bit. It's given itself its own world that is world built. So I think you're adding too much to it
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're upset about politics in that show, you're adding the political to it. Like it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's fantastic. I thought it was a very, very well done series. I thought it was great.
All right, so for those watching in the streams on Facebook and on YouTube, let us know in the chat. We've talked about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. What was
Abigail.
Abigail. There we go. I almost said Anna, but it's Abigail. We talked about what was before those. We talked about the Golden Compass.
Yep.
We talked about Carnival Row is what we just finished. Let us know what you guys thought about those. What your recommendations are. So far, I don't think we haven't recommended anything. Like we're pretty much
I've enjoyed things more or less. Like I would definitely recommend Carnival Row over watching something like Abigail. But if you're gonna keep looking for things, you know what? Here's one that I can definitely wholeheartedly not recommend.
Here we go.
Franklin.
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's a steampunky movie, but only half. And it has oh god, what's the actress's name? She's in Penny Dreadful, the main character.
Ooh, we can talk about Penny Dreadful in a bit because woohoo!
Just shout it. Just shout it.
Does it have another name?
Ava Green?
I can't see it.
Okay, Ava Green. Yeah, she's fantastic. I love her and everything. She's done, the Miss Peculiar's School for Magic People or whatever the name is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What year was the movie out? I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, Franklin. Oh, jeez, I don't want people to go looking for it because it's not great.
Oh, wait a minute. Franklin official trailer. Does it have like a masked dude in it?
Yeah, it should have a masked dude in it.
I think I found it on YouTube. Franklin official trailer.
So what I'll say is,
it's some dudes with top hats.
What I'll say is that Franklin has some great steampunk visuals, but the problem is that the movie is half modern day.
Okay.
Or, it's like 60%, 70% modern day. And the other bit is the cool steampunk world. And the steampunk world is all in the main character, is all in one of these characters. It's not the main character. It's one of the characters' minds. Like, it's made up. It's a fantasy in their heads. It's not real. It's not like a magical side world. It keeps suggesting that it's like a Narnia side world thing. And then you're like, and the whole time you're watching this movie, you're like, how does the steampunk world connect with this real world? Because they have like 7 threads going on in the modern day world, and they got like maybe 1 or 2 threads going on in the cool steampunk world. And like, I wanted them to lop off the modern day stuff because the modern day stuff feels like a student film. It feels bad and weird and awkwardly written and talks about things that only 20-somethings care at anything like young film student type age people care about, but nobody else does. Like, it reminds me of student films. I did film school. Yeah, I can see it. Like, all it needed was the alarm clock, like, starting a scene. Like, that's how close it was. But and the steampunk world was really, really cool, and they did a lot of cool world building with it, and they just like dropped it for most of the film. And I feel like that should have been the film, but they didn't have the budget to keep doing a whole film with it. So they're like, we'll piece it together with some really cheaply shot stuff in, like, I don't know, Australia, London. It was vaguely non-American English-speaking world. It's not good, but
you know what that sounds like? That sounds like my feelings on Sucker Punch. I'm like, Sucker Punch is always recommended. However, I'm like, Sucker Punch is not something you should spend money on. You should watch it once for free. You should see, pretty things, pretty ladies, pretty effects, pretty action sequences. But in the end, they had such a cool concept that just went nowhere. Like, all of the not steampunk world stuff is too boring or sad or not done enough well that the actual, when they go into their minds and it's like the steampunk world and things, that doesn't mean anything. And I'm just like, I just don't care about it.
Yeah. Sucker Punch is the diesel punky. It's like they tried to take American McGee's Alice and make it sexy and make it diesel punky, and it didn't work well. This is trying to take that concept and make it more steampunky again, but make it work even less, because there's less of the fantasy world than that has.
Yeah, because everyone's always trying to say, like, oh, top 10 steampunk movies, and Sucker Punch will make it on it. And I'm like, no, it, as a film for a story, it missed too many marks to be good. However, it is pretty, and look, explosions, and look at how they did this, and the World War I steam zombies section was just so good. But like, there's so many parts that it's like you are trying so hard to jam this into your steampunk recommendation, and it's not.
So what I'll say is, like, Sucker Punch doesn't have an excuse because they had a huge budget.
Yeah.
Franklin probably didn't have a huge budget, and they wanted to make a really cool steampunk thing. And like they if you were to take the movie and edit all the modern day stuff out and just be like, look, there's not going to be any resolution to any story, okay? It's just, you're just going to watch a bunch of cool scenes in a steampunk city. Fascinating, awesome world building in there. It's really cool. And then they ruin it with all the modern day, it was all in their head shit.
Yeah.
Which, like, I have to feel bad for it. But, like, the steampunk parts are so cool that it's kind of worth skipping, like renting it and skipping. So but I still am not going to recommend it.
If we had a convention, there would be a free showing of Sucker Punch so that you can get it out of the way, and then doing it like a panel that is just fast forwarding through the boring bits and going through the steampunky bits, and at the end we all go, ooh, this had such potential. Like,
yes. So, I mean, I'm not going to be too hard on the creators, but I definitely can't recommend Franklin. But if you're itching for more steampunk stuff, like you've watched the good stuff, you've watched, Steam Boy and Mortal Engines and Wild Wild West, the movie, and I'm, the good stuff, right? Okay, you've watched the ones that are complete stories.
That's the stuff at the top. Everyone's recommendations that we talked about earlier, they always go, like Steam Boy, and then people give you a blank stare, and they're like, what? And then you go, you roll your eyes, Wild Wild West. And everyone's like, yeah, I see. Giant spiders and cowboys and stuff. It's like, yeah, I like Wild Wild West. And
of course, okay. Story-wise, it's actually poorly written, but it's funny, and it's well directed. It's just a really bad
90s
story.
Problem. It's super 90s. That's it. That's the only issue with the movie.
I know the giant mechanical spider that director tried to shoehorn into every movie until he found one that would tell him yes, because he was going to make that Superman movie with Nick Cage, and he was going to have a giant spider be the villain of that, and they were like, no, you can't do that, and they canceled the movie, and they were like, fine, I'll take my spider and I'll bring it into this Wild Wild West movie instead. Like that director had a thing for giant spider villains, and it was the dumbest thing, and that.
Yeah,
I like the
giant steampunk arachnids in this town.
Also, the Loveless of the TV show, it was cool. He was a really cool character, and he was a little person. And it's really weird that instead of being a little person, he was in a wheelchair. It was like they just swapped his disability.
Yeah, I know that they're like
I don't mean to say being a little person's. Anyway,
no, what
I'm saying.
Know that in reality, it's the equivalent of whitewashing. They wanted a bigger named actor to fill the role, and instead of getting, Peter Dinklage wasn't around making Marvel movies at the time, so instead you got this other bigger name actor to play a villain, and to keep him little or whatever, they gave him a disability, also to make it more steampunky. That's fine, but it's also like, come on.
I think kind of it would have been Selma Hayek in that. She had nothing to do in that movie. Anyway, not talking about that one. You know what? I will say about Steam Boy, as much as I always mention it, and I love it, it's beautiful. It's like 3 hours. It's a little bit like long.
It is? Jeez.
or it felt like it. I don't remember the exact runtime, but it's a longer movie than you think it should be.
Yeah, we sat down to watch it, and Netflix would not load it for weeks. We sat down every time we went to watch a movie. It was trying to be that one, and it would not load. Then Netflix took it off. So we're like, okay. So we still haven't seen that movie. I think Finn and Gael have it on DVD that they were going to lend us. But we still haven't seen it.
It's 2 hours. Never mind. It's 2 hours, but it feels a bit longer.
It's not a good sign that you're like, it's like a 3-hour movie. Trust me, it's longer than it should be. And it's like, it's barely 2 hours. And you're like, oh, well, that's not a good sign either, that it feels like 3 hours.
No, honestly, if you want fun anime steampunk, at this point, I'm starting to just recommend people go watch, Hideaki Anno directed it before he did Evangelion. It was based on a Ghibli. Is that the name of it, though?
Can we get hearts in the chats for all the Ghibli fans?
Nadia. Yes, the subtitle is The Secret of Blue Water. But yes, Nadia is basically 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the anime, following some kids going, and it's wicked good. And like they've got all the same imagery that Steam Boy ends up having with all the Victorian stuff, and they've got the steam bike. They've got the same like mono-wheeled steam bike.
Oh my god, I love
in like
the
episode 3 or something or 2. It's fantastic. It's very, very steampunky. I highly recommend. And it's funny because the Granfus gang, which is like the villain, like the trio villains in Nadia, are basically Team Rocket before Team Rocket.
Oh, well, it's nice to know where they came from. I'm sure that was probably
like honestly, it does so many great things well. Nadia is fantastic. There's a great Victorian steampunky series. Like, it is awesome, and like the Nautilus is really cool in that. Haven't finished it, but I've seen a lot of it, and it's really, really good. We bought the Blu-ray set at one of the previous another Anime Con. One of the years that the recent years where they have it in Massachusetts now. Speaking of cons, this is not a good time for conventions and festivals, huh?
No. It's been really sad for me because I feel like, what was it, last year? We did so much in the fall. Jasmine and I were so burnt out. We were so done with everything con-related, and we said we need to take a break. There was a few in November or December that I invited to that were like, no, we need this break. We need to shut off from people. We need to have us time. And then January came around and we were like, we're starting to get busy, but everything will be fine. I was looking forward to Watch City. And now everything's fallen off and we don't have any plans until without spoiling
next
anything.
Year.
Basically until next year, because there was an event that we said we were not doing this year in August that might be canceled soon. But we didn't buy tickets for that because it was...
Fan Expo Boston finally just officially announced their cancellation, which...
Fan Expo is closed, so we were invited to do that. We're done.
Yeah, they were holding on a bit late for that. Like, now is like, really? That's an August convention.
Well, you never know. It could be over. Like... To be honest, everyone's reopening. I think we're going to get a second wind and everything will be canceled again. But
more Backstreet Boy tours.
You don't know. August still, I would expect them to start canceling in July when things start getting worse again. But we had an event at the Highland Games, which we're not doing this year. Then we had another event that is hedging its bets. So I believe you know what I'm talking about, where they're kind of looking into an online version, but they're also like still trying to plan for a physical one. It's all up in the air.
Yeah. So, and I will say, I do look forward to some of the virtual events. There's one next month called Plague Fest. That's going to be a virtual convention. There was one a week or two ago that I just didn't hear about and I missed out on. And I think it's just a bunch of live streams with links to vendors, but I think that can be interesting if you make it interesting. I get it's a very different experience than dressing up and physically going to a place and seeing people. Super different. It's not like there's a big chat room or, I get it's a different experience, but it's what we can do for now. So I'm interested in Plague Fest. Hopefully that goes well. There's another event that hopefully sometime in the later the year is going to do something a bit bigger because there's more time to plan it. So we'll see. Virtual events are down here.
I'm trying to fill that need with maybe some more YouTube, but I mean, I definitely was looking forward to it. I got some things that I wanted for steampunk stuff to try to do a little more with costuming. In the past, my costumes have been very lackluster until recently when I stopped trying to be my character and just started, this would look cool and steampunky and be different from what I've seen. And those ended up getting, a lot of people like those ones. So I've been trying to do some different things with more articles of clothing that I would just like, and then building a thing from that, which was also part of sewing, trying to get my webbing. I was going to sew that very lacklusterly so that it would stick together a lot better. That last year.
I've got a cheap bowler coming in. I didn't want to go all in on a really nice bowler online. A boater. Straw boater. I didn't want to go out on a really nice one. I think I will when there's a physical event that I can see the hat and put it on and look in a mirror.
Did you get the one that I recommended to you? The one I have?
Oh, I do not remember. You must have sent that recommendation eons ago, and I just
It was after the beach day last year, so it was at least almost a year.
No, I do not have that link.
That one was only like $20 on Amazon when I got it, and then you said you had liked it.
It
So.
may accidentally be the same one then.
Okay. If it was around $20, it was on Amazon.
It was not expensive. I don't remember the exact, but I have a hat coming in. I'll probably end up getting a nicer one later, maybe next year when we can go to an event and I can get the hat on my head and see, oh yes, this is worth getting. Because I've wanted one for a while. I've just been, not financially ready to pay $80 on a hat. Like when I got my top hats, right? The good ones were about 70-ish. Like they're good, they're great. And at this point, I can look at a top hat online at like Historical Emporium and go, yeah, that style would look good on me. I will buy it without having to try it on. And I know that these sites will let you send it back, but like I've sent something back before. And I don't know if it was because it was rush shipping, but sending something back via UPS is not cheap. It's not free. If it's Amazon, it's free, but that's a whole monopoly thing. I want to support the smaller businesses, so I do want to get stuff from because my best outfits are from Historical Emporium. I'm so happy I bought those. But
I get all my hats from Net Hats, and that adds up when it's like, just ship it back and pay for two-way shipping again. So back to us, and then to you, and then at
that point you're like, can I just buy another hat and then gift this one? Is that worth more?
Maybe. See, my two top hats, I have one that was $84, one that was $86. They lasted me good for many years, at least 9 or 8 years at this point.
Wow.
Maybe 10. But I mean, the other day I was trying them on, and I'm like, I think I gained too much weight, and they just don't fit anymore. Like I could not go to an event and wear those with any confidence because they would either be sitting very lacklusterly on top of my head, or they give me headaches. So I just grew out of it.
For sure, my hair makes a big difference. Like my hats fit me all completely different now after my haircut, which is just funny.
I wonder if I can do this. Oh, that I can still hear you.
You need to get some new headphones, man.
Or wear a different hat.
I used to have these huge headphones that were tied in and zip tied to a radio transmitter.
Oh yeah.
That would like the other end was in my pocket attached to like the iPod I built from eBay parts. That was in high school. That was forever ago. But yeah, I had this huge honking set. It was kind of like it was a little bit like these, but it was just like way more.
Oh
These are
geez.
definitely my like Cyberman headphones. Delete.
Yeah.
But these are Bluetooth, of course, so they don't need a jury-rigged radio transmitter.
Yeah.
But back in high school, there really wasn't Bluetooth headphones that were, and if they were expensive and terrible.
Yeah.
Equal parts.
But anyways, yeah, we've been talking about trying to sell some of my older hats, and get a whole new setup of them. Now that I know how to measure them, I'm a little bit better at looking for things, especially with my new fedora that we did after retiring after 10 years. My other one.
You gonna bronze it?
New one. So, yeah, we're still we were waiting on a quote before the reunion tour, and we were waiting on a quote to bronze it, and we haven't heard back. I haven't recontacted them because with all the money that we're losing and spending, we haven't done it yet. With our new kitty, are you still sleeping? Yeah.
I look forward to upsetting your cat with my presence sometime in the future.
Yeah, we will look forward to seeing how she does with other people once she has the run of the house. So yeah, we've been definitely thinking about redoing some hats and getting some things. I was looking at coats the other day. That was dangerous. I found a nice
big old frock
trench coat, great coat, wool that is double-breasted. It's perfect. It's only going to be $200, which I went, ooh, $200, and then I realized I got a big boy job now. $200 actually isn't that much in the grand scheme of things when I'm actually working. So I'm not buying it yet. And I'm also expecting it. They're about to have their summer sale on their coats. So I'm like, I'm going to watch this for a little bit.
Yeah, because nobody else is thinking about getting a nice warm coat in the middle of this heat.
Yeah, a nice wool trench coat.
They're going to put it on sale. You've got patience. You can put it on. You can wear it when it gets cold.
Jasmine told me I can buy as much coats as I want as long as I get rid of the ones that don't fit my fat butt anymore. So I'm going through my coats. If anyone wants a cheap wool coat at some point, I have some that have never fit. They're just savers buys that I tried to get. I might try to sell those. I was considering trying to do it at our table, but not only are, we're not bending at any place anytime soon, but we don't know how long that'll be. But Justin also really wants everything to be handmade. He's allowing me to sell. I think I have a bowler I was gifted that has never fit me. It's so small. We're going to try to sell that because it's very related, but I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to try and pivot towards more selling Antiford specific things like the book back there.
Yeah, I was going to say they're focusing on either handmade or Antiford specific. So,
yeah. And hey, we got to make the physical edition of Wilder Raz.
Yeah, we got to do that. I've actually had some people playing Wilder Raz during this stay-at-home time.
It's the perfect time. It's the perfect time to play Wilder Raz right now.
To drop 20 hours into a game that will take time to play and explore. For those of us who are here, we got a question in chat before we self-promote something. We have Scott Wilhelm. Hi, Scott. Hi, Darren, by the way, now that we're doing shout-outs. Hi, Heather. I see Heather joined.
Nice.
Scott asks, what are the plans for Mockenbakken vis-a-vis COVID-19?
We did cancel Mockenbakken this year. There may be for some of the intergroup members, the writers and stuff, we may do a small thing like we've done in the past, or maybe even less if it's still very stay-at-home quarantining. But as a festival, no, we've unfortunately had to push that off to 2021.
Yeah,
at the earliest. We'll see. We gotta restart all the planning, recontact all the performers, and we were hoping to look for a new location. Although I quite liked the location we had at the camp, I do understand that if it rains or that sort of thing, like there's issues with it. I wouldn't mind
The big issue
there
that
again, but
with the stay at home time happening, we I mean, it's affected meeting about it. It's affected all, like you can't call an event place about hosting an event right now. Like it's affected all that. A large part of us have either working. A lot of us are working from home. That's lucky, but some of us, like me, are furloughed. So, I mean, there's no money for deposits. There's no money for whatever.
So, what I will say is we had a really, really great time. 2020 it was really successful. Sorry, 2019 was really successful, and we've had to hedge our bets on 2020. Like even if it's completely safe to go outside, I already know that there's a bunch of events that are going to just swoop in and appear out of nowhere. Some of the bigger events may just hold an alternate version of their big event in the fall. I've already heard of some events wanting to do that. So we didn't want to have to compete with some of these bigger events rescheduling themselves either. That was also a concern. So
especially when we're already competing with other events that are around us. Oddball Newt is always doing events every month down in Connecticut, which just completely takes away any hope of getting any of our Connecticut steampunks to travel up. He's a great guy and everything. We try to work with him around times, but I don't know if it's miscommunication, but let's just say that it always seems to be an event planned on our same day. So it ends up just taking people away. Why would people drive hours up north to southern New Hampshire
when there's something next week?
Yeah, when they're like, oh, down the road is this event that is free or cheap or whatever. I would much rather do that. And then what ends up happening is the more people who do that, the more people are like, why would I go up to this event? All my friends will be at this one, and it's right next door.
But in any case, I'm also missing all the other smaller events, which Railway to the Moon. We've been involved in helping out with that every year. I'm kind of sad that it's probably not going to happen.
They haven't announced anything. They've been given okay for smaller, ticketed tours or whatever. And I think they're trying to do the get open as soon as possible, since they are a semi-outdoor event. And then they take you to the top of the mountain. They might still do it. They might be open and doing things. I don't know how well I would want it. It would really depend on how it's handled. But I mean, that's late August into September. That's a long ways away from now. And
actually, they were going to pull it up to July this year. I think they were going to try and do it. I don't remember. I don't remember right now. I don't think
this is a bad year to be pulling up events.
I don't remember if I've gotten. Actually, should look into that. I don't remember if I've gotten communication on that. But there's the small event in Maine that they do at the museum up there. The Brick Store Museum. That's a great little event we did last year. We went between a lot of smaller events that are further out, partially to push Mockenbakken, advertise for that, partially just to go. I'm glad we did. So you never know when you get to miss out on things and then they don't exist.
I know that now that there's been so many that are gone, I'm definitely going to be pushing to try to go to more. It was different when we are so busy and there's so many of these events that take this much resources to go to and prepare for and do this. And now there's nothing. Everything's either canceled or moving to online. And now I'm like, maybe I can put in a little bit of extra effort to go to this event, or maybe, this event we wouldn't have gone to normally, but hey, it's small, it's still happening, it can happen. I'm going to go and support them.
So I think if everything's kosher by next year, I think next year is going to be a pretty good year for festivals and events. I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. We'll announce plans as they come in. But yeah, this year we just wrote it off. We officially announced it on Facebook. It's not a good year to do an event. So that's sorry. Feel bad about that, but we just wanted everyone to be safe.
Yeah. Scott goes on to say to try doing Mockenbakken online. I think the reason why we're not doing that is because there's so many events already doing online things. We're kind of just waiting to see how those work out.
And there's all the opportunity that Citizens of Antiford will be a part of an online event coming in the fall, but we don't have any finalized. We have nothing finalized about that. There's nothing to announce, but we're hoping to be part of an online event. So we don't want to do our own because we're just going to combine it with participating in another one that we really believe in.
Yeah, there's so many events being pushed back to the fall, and two, so many have announced going online. We think that it's probably better to just say that it's good and put our efforts into supporting those. It's already going to be hard enough to figure out how to do an online event properly and how to get presenters and people to do live streams like this. And also, there's just an opportunity for us to do more digital content like these live streams. I mean, this was fun so far. We've got some interactions with people, with us scheduling them and doing some more notice than what we've been doing for live streams.
Yeah. Sorry, this was last minute for everyone. We just were like, we really ought to do something, and that's why it's this nice casual format where we're just kind of talking about what steampunk we've been doing this year. What we didn't actually get into what Antiford projects we've been working on this year, but you know what, we can hold that off to another live stream. I think we can call it with kind of the generic steampunk topics we've been doing and hold off our Antiford specific stuff because it's all work in progress stuff mostly from you, from the rest of the group. I think everyone's kind of hunkered down and either have been focusing on other things or have been working on projects that take some time to build.
Yeah.
So, some stories for our next book collection, perhaps. But
that's what I was writing until it got hot, and now I can't force myself to do it.
Rain.
But I was doing good with it. Actually, that might be today's plans, depending on what we're doing later on.
Yeah, you've got only a couple hours before the next thing you were going to schedule with everyone, so I think your day's gone.
We got a new kitty cat, so we're dealing with that.
Cool. All right, I think we're gonna have to call it here and end it. It's been a nice hour, about.
Yeah.
So thanks for everyone who came and listened to us talk about steampunk and what's been going on. So.
Yeah, if you guys want more content like this, please let us know if you're on YouTube, comment center down below. If you're on Facebook, feel free to send us a private message on Facebook, Citizens of Antiford.
There's also the comment section attached to the live stream.
I'm not sure how long that'll last after it ends, though. You know what? Yeah, I'm sure Citizens of Antiford mods will be able to see that.
But in any case, so there's a whole bunch of older content on the Citizens of Antiford YouTube. Please check that stuff out. There's tons and tons of stories to read on the citizensofantiford.com website. There is a shop attached where we have our official book. Totally support us if you can. It's a fun read. I enjoy it. It's a good intro to our world. And then more recent content, steampunk content, you'll definitely find on his channel, the Landship Scorpios. So thank you, everyone.
I have a steampunk playlist to get you away from some of the gaming stuff. I've been doing a little bit of gaming stuff lately that you might not be interested in, but I have World History 101, which has its own playlist on the channel, and we have some steampunk stuff that has its own playlist on the channel. So with that, bye-bye. Like and subscribe.
Yes.